So, hey, I'm seeing your estrogen is a little bit higher than range. So your range goes 41 to 159. You're sitting at 222. How do you feel about letting that estrogen run higher?
See, I generally go off how I feel, not necessarily the kind of reading I get from a test, because for me, with the testosterone dose I'm using, which is 750 milligrams, for that dose of testosterone, that estrogen region is about right. So for me, if you are using slightly higher test, you should probably see a slight elevation of estrogen. However, if I'm not experiencing any bloating, my sex drive's all good, I'm not getting any mood swings, I'm not carrying any excess water retention, my blood pressure's fine, I don't really see the need to bring that down.
Yeah.
And realistically, it's just slightly above the range. It's not really anything that's excessive, right?
Yeah. So with that 750 test, are you using any kind of AI or any kind of DHT, anything to try to modulate the estrogen, or you're just letting that ride?
No, I won't be able to use 750 test with no primo and mast. So there's a sprinkle. If I was to be using 750 test, hypothetically, if I was using hypothetically 750 test, I would be using primo and mast alongside of that as well.
Okay, hypothetically, of course.
Hypothetically in similar doses.
Okay.
So you've got an idea. You've got an idea there.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Think Big Bodybuilding Media. I'm Scott McNally, and we are back again with Kuba Cielen. What's going on, brother?
I'm great, brother. And pleasant news, right? We're going to have the proper British reception today, so there's not going to be any issues as there was in the last episode. So anyone watched last episode, I do apologize. I was at the gym, and the gym's Wi-Fi is not the best, so I do apologize. I was sat there sweating, thinking, Jesus Christ, this is not going to go out too well.
It turned out better than I thought it would, actually. When I went back through and edited everything, it was good. And man, there was some good information, and I hope that people apply that stuff, because it was stuff that you could literally change your bodybuilding today. You know, just by deciding, hey, I'm in a diet phase, I'm going to jump into using maybe some more machines. Like, you could literally change that right now. And I like that kind of stuff, and I know that our listeners do too.
Yeah, I love that. And it's something I actually touched on today when I was training. I'm back dumbbell pressing. I'm not sure if you saw, but
I did, man. I've seen a few of your videos of dumbbell pressing now.
Yeah, so I pressed 66 today, 66 in kilo. What's that in pounds?
Oh, let me see here. I'm not good at that.
145.
145.
Which is it's not huge weight, but I actually do my pressing as third exercise in. So I do it specifically pre-fatigued so that I'm not throwing at 170 straight away. So my goal now is to get back up to like 160s, 170s, but as the third exercise. Now, because I'm heavier, I always feel like the dumbbell work, anything that needs like internal bracing, where you're having to manhandle it yourself, it feels so much better. So like when I go to dumbbells now, I can literally feel like I can lock in and I can really manhandle them. But same thing again now with RDLs or any deadlift variations. But one thing I'm going to put in as well, I've got a transformer bar. I'm not sure if you've seen it. Kabuki transformer bar?
Oh, yeah. I've got one of those too, man. What do you think about it?
Yes, mate. It's amazing. But it's so hard.
Oh, it is, dude.
So what I'm going to do, I think, instead of a hack squat, in one of my sessions, I'm actually going to put it into front squat setting.
Yes.
And I'm going to keep like a really, really horrible front squat, because I've got 2 weeks left of this training block now. And my training split at the minute is push, pull, rest, legs, rest.
Okay.
But what I'm going to do in a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to lower my volume per session slightly. And I'm going to increase my frequency to 3 on 1 off.
Okay.
So, again, Scott Stevenson, right? Massive fan of higher frequency. I'm in two minds about trying it right now, because training has been going so well. And especially this training block now, I've made so much progress, both on scales and in the gym, right? So I almost think to myself, well, don't fix what's not broken. But at the same time, I can always try it, and I can see if I can actually make more progress with more frequency and less volume, because in essence, although it's less volume session per session, because I'm going to be hitting all the body parts with more frequency. In essence, it's going to be more work over time, but less demanding at that given time because the session structure and the layout is somewhat less energy demand as well because you don't have as many sets to do. So my rationale behind it is basically breaking up the sessions into a little bit less volume, but having higher frequency, which in turn gives you more volume. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that makes total sense to me. So give me an example. How many sets are you doing for a particular body part now? And how many sets will you be going to once you reduce the volume per workout?
I can actually give you exact numbers, mate.
Okay.
So we've got an exact setup here, right? So we've got 19 sets currently for my push sessions. And what I can actually do, I can probably send you my training over so you can see for yourself. And then you can actually put it up on the screen and people can see themselves.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example of my push day that I did today. So my push B variation, which is a cuffed lying lateral raise. Then we've got incline cable fly, then low incline dumbbell press, then high incline strive press, bodyweight dip, cable jam press, and then I've got Atlantis lateral to finish, and then straight into a deficit press up, which is just the rest pulse set. So a total of 19 working sets for that session.
That's a lot of volume, you know. That's
it's not low, but it's not high. And the way I've kind of structure things, it's like I don't really waste time taking unnecessary warm-up sets. So when I'm in there, I'm fucking in there. But the sessions generally take like up to 2.5 hours, depending on what I'm training anyway. Because I do take my time between the sets. But the rationale behind this then would be, and again, I've still got to write this up now, and I'm going to send it over to the dean who I'm working with, just to kind of keep me on track, right? But I'm going to rewrite my training. So out of this session, now we've got 19 working sets. I'm going to scale back slightly and probably do 16 working sets.
Okay.
So I'll shave like 3 sets off, which in essence, it's probably going to save 20 minutes out of that workout, maybe even more. But 16 working sets for me is very easy because I'm already adapted to kind of handling this much work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like anyone's body can adapt to handle more workload. So for me, it's not going to hurt in trying, especially when I can structure my sessions where I've got 19 sets for this workout, right? So all I'd do here is I'd reduce it by 3 working sets. It would be pulling maybe even 4 working sets. 1, 2, 3, 4 working sets, yeah. So I'd probably reduce it down to 15 sets total.
Okay, I like that. That sounds a little more in line. Like now we're starting to get, because I felt like 3, then out of 19, it's still 16 is a lot comparatively, you know, but yeah. I think when you get into that, move it down 4 working sets, now you're starting to create a difference for sure.
So let's break it down for you, right? So exercise number 1 would be 3 working sets of cuff lateral. Exercise number 2, 2 sets of incline cable fly. Then I've got 3 sets of incline dumbbell, 2 sets of high incline strive, 2 sets of dip, 3 sets of jam press, and 3 sets of lateral to finish with, and 1 set of deficit push-up. So my thought process with that would be removing 1 set from the laterals, removing 1 set from incline dumbbell, removing a set from the JM press, and removing a set from the prime lateral raise at the end, which would then take it down to 15 working sets. But I may even remove the deficit push-up. But I'm in 2 minds about that because the deficit push-up, right, it's great for the chest. But when you think about it, it's not really a movement that is going to bring about a lot of fatigue and a lot of demand. So I potentially may keep that in. So when you think about it, it would be 14 hard working sets and 1 working set of a fluffy exercise like the deficit push-up to finish off on.
I got you.
So,
yeah,
I'm quite excited. I'm quite excited about that concept. Do you want me to go to a pull session?
That gives us a good idea. Idea. But yeah, you know what, man? There's some people who are listening who might want to know what you're doing. So yeah, let's hear it, man. So
again, 19 working sets for pull day. I'll go over it quickly just so we're not wasting too much time. But we've got cable row to start with, 2 sets. Unilateral pull down, 3 sets. Chest supported T-bar, 2 sets. Prime row, 2 sets. And then prime unilateral row, 3 sets. 1 set of chest supported shrug. Then I've got 3 sets of bicep curl, 3 sets of reverse pec deck. So again, on that session, I would be removing 4 working sets, again, bringing it down to 16 working sets total. So again, any exercise that has 3 working sets, I would just bring that down to 2 working sets. But for this session, yeah, I would bring that down to 15 working sets potentially as well, removing 1, 2, 3, 4 working sets.
Okay.
So again, 15 sets, right? Super easy. Now, leg day. I think this is going to be a good one. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So I structure my leg days a little bit differently these days.
Huh.
Where my leg day structure is more so compacted into less exercises and more sets. So I've been starting off with a variation between a seated or a lying hamstring for 4 working sets, and then I follow that up with 3 working sets of leg extension, and then I do a leg press, and then an RDL in one of the sessions. So it's less exercises, but the workload is pretty much the same. So at the moment, 13 working sets for my leg day. And again, I would probably bring that down to more so 10 working sets, 9 working sets. And I really think that volume would be doable for frequency of 3 on and 1 off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you remove 3-4 exercises off of a workout with less sets, it's a larger percentage that you're dropping. And so you're thinking you're basically going to go push, pull legs off, then push, pull legs off.
Yeah, so now it's push, pull, rest, legs, rest.
Right.
And then I'm going to go to push, pull, legs, rest, legs. Sorry, push, pull, rest. Push, pull, legs, rest, rest. Push, pull, legs, rest, push, pull, legs.
Wow. Yeah, that'll be intense, man. I would say if you're still doing, so you've got maybe 15 working sets per body part or per workout. That's, 30 working sets for that workout over the course of 7 days. So you're going to watch how you respond. How will you navigate this? Like, how will you be able to tell whether this is providing benefit or it's not providing as much benefit or you're getting burnt out?
Logbook progression, my friend, is everything.
Okay.
The logbook has to be moving upwards. The logbook has to be moving forward.
Beautiful.
So
it's simple.
I track all my lifts. It's simple as that, Scott. Standardized training execution, standardized exercise setup, standardized tempo, and then tracking your lifts. If your lifts are not progressing when you are in a calorie surplus, something needs adjusting. You're either training with too much frequency or too much volume, or there might be other lifestyle factors that are coming into play. But I'm excited to try this, to be honest, because I have tried more frequency in the past, but I have never been emotionally grown up enough to be able to scale back a little bit on that of workload. And I am working with a coach at the moment, and that's definitely helping because it takes a lot of stress off me not overthinking and then saying, right, this is what I want to do. Let me know what you think. And then he's a very, very smart lad as well. So he brings a lot to the table for me personally. He's got the ability to keep me very, very calm and ability to keep me very, very stress-free, which for me is everything.
That's cool, man. That's cool. And you'll be able to tell whether this is working for you or not quickly. You'll be able to tell in 2 weeks. You don't have to wait 8 weeks and then you hurt yourself and then you say, oh, I guess that wasn't a good idea, or 16 weeks and you haven't grown at all. You'll literally know whether it's working or not within a couple of weeks.
Mate, you've nailed that 100%. I'll literally, do you know what? 100%, yeah. You've nailed it. I'll literally be able to know within the first 1, 2, 3, 4 of these blocks of training 3 on.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be perfect, man. And by the next time we record, you'll have some more insight. And I'll be interested, I'm sure everybody will, to hear how you're doing with it.
Yeah, we'll go over it 100%. It's something we can share. And I'll even share my setup with what I'm using for my training and kind of tracking the sets and everything else. I think that'll be quite interesting for some people. Maybe not for some, but look, we'll see, right?
Yeah.
But the plan is now, Scott, to finish this week off, smash absolutely next week, aim to fucking really break myself next week, like legit break myself.
Okay.
And then it will be time for a little bit of a deload the week starting 25th of November.
Okay.
Where I'll take like 3 days off. I'll probably take Meg like on an away night to a hotel.
Nice.
You've got to do that. You've got to treat the missus. And then straight back to business, and then I'll start the 3 on 1 off. So the next time I record, actually, we'll be able to get that in, yeah.
I like the sounds of that. Hey, what are you weighing now, by the way?
263/264.
Okay, so I think you're up like 10 pounds from the last one then that we recorded.
Yeah.
So you're moving along, man.
Yeah, up 10 pounds. Conditions pretty comparable.
Pro bodybuilder in the 260s, you must be hammering the gear so hard, abusing your body so badly, and your labs must look terrible.
Well, Scott, what do we have today?
You like that setup?
Yes. Oh, hey, love it. You'd think that Scott's done this before.
I've got Kuba's labs pulled up. We'll drop them in on the screen post-production here. How do you keep your numbers, your range is a little bit different than ours, but how are you managing to keep your hematocrit, hemoglobin, red blood cell, everything, all of that's in great range right now. That's beautiful, man.
Yeah. It's, how do I manage to keep it in? Well,
yeah.
I think a lot of factors come into it, right? I'm not just going to say it's supplements from Trained by JP, because yes, they do play a massive role.
Yeah.
But look, I have been religious with taking my supplements consistently for years, but there is a lot of lifestyle factors that go into it. So priority is managing a mixture of all things where you are taking your supplements, but you are also making sure that your lifestyle is suitable towards bodybuilding. So no alcohol, managing sleep, managing stress, and more importantly, nutrition. I think getting in all of your micronutrient needs from the food plays a massive, massive role in managing your blood work. Now, big factor is as well, Scott, I don't overeat and I don't get fat. The only times where I have seen my cholesterol or my hematocrit even slightly off was when I got fluffy.
Really?
Yeah, straight up.
Okay.
Like, there was one time when I got pretty sloppy, and that was pretty much one blood work when I looked at it and I thought, this is not the usual, level that I like to keep it at.
Yeah.
But when it comes to supplementation, vital support from JP, you can probably look up the ingredients. It's a pretty hefty dose of the whole stack for liver and kidneys, and then love heart as well. And I don't actually take what's on the tub. I do take more.
Okay.
So the advice is normally like 4 vital support in 2 portions, and I actually take 10.
Okay.
With love heart, the portion is actually 2, and I actually take 5 each night.
Okay.
So I am getting pretty heavy dose that really, really does help with lipid management, managing bloods in general. Now, I do use telmisartan at 40 milligrams pretty much year round as well. And I do feel like telmisartan does help a lot. I personally don't do any bloodlets. And for me, keeping a baseline level of activity is also essential. So for me, when I do a morning walk, it's 22 minutes of a hard power walk. It's not just a leisure and stroll, right? I don't actually do any cardio at the moment, any direct cardio, because I don't need it. But I do stay really active across the day.
Yeah. Right on. So did you talk to Dave about your labs at all here? I see you get your labs done from Eval. In fact, are you considered a sponsored athlete from Eval?
So I actually started getting my blood work done with Dave since he started the company.
Oh, no kidding.
So Dave has my blood work from when he first started his company, and the blood work reference point he has are pretty much every 6 to 8 weeks since he started.
No kidding.
Yeah, so we've got pretty much like 17 or 18 different sets of labs.
Okay. That's wild.
Yeah, so I've always been a fan of Eval. So anyone in the UK, if you need your blood work checked, Eval is top tier. They really are. And the thing is with Dave as well, you don't just get your blood work done. You do get that aftercare. And the amount of times Dave has been there for me when I either had questions or I had any concerns Dave is so helpful, so I cannot thank him enough, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that. And when I had the chance to go over there to the UK, it was cool to see that firsthand and just see how, I mean, Dave's kind of like a, rough exterior, wants to act like he hates everybody, but he's really a genuinely nice person and he's really out to help people as best he can,
He goes up above and beyond. That's why I've been a massive fan of Evo since day one.
That's cool.
He has gone personally for me above and beyond many, many times. So I'm very grateful.
Right on. So, hey, looking at the, second page of your labs there. So ALT is elevated, and that's a common one to see training wise. Did you take any time off training before these labs, or did you just go straight in?
I go straight in. So you'll probably notice how high my CK is as well. So we can go over that in a moment. But ALT and AST, generally, I do feel like is always going to be slightly elevated with even higher protein intake. So if you want your labs to be super accurate, one, I do think you probably need to do them fasted whilst you're fully hydrated. And I think ideally you need to be taking 4 to 5 days off training as well to get like crystal clear accuracy with your liver values and your CK as well.
Yeah. So, but I mean, what I've tried to tell people, and I'm sure this is what you operate by too, is you're not seeing these numbers continually rise each time, right? I mean, you're going to be a little bit out of range. And we've talked about that with Scott Stevenson before on the show. We did a whole show on like how to interpret your labs and the mistakes that a lot of average, just family doctors make. They see the numbers and they're like, oh my God, you have liver issues. You need to cut back on the drinking. That's the first thing they tell you. But, I mean, the reality is, though, like, it shouldn't continue to rise and rise and rise. It may be elevated, but it's going to stay there over the long haul. Next time you get your labs, if you continue to train the way you are, it's probably going to be the same, right?
Yeah, honestly, when you look at my lab work, my cholesterol and my liver volumes are pretty much always the same. So yeah. It's pretty consistent.
Okay. All right, yeah. So what were you saying about your CK levels? Where were those at?
Should be the muscle damage. Should be about 5,000.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's marked with a double H, higher than high.
Yeah. That's just training. That's literally just training. See, if a normal doctor that doesn't know how to interpret blood work very well would see that,
yeah,
they would probably send me to the hospital.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, yeah. We're getting all sorts of additional tests. Dude, I had that the first time that I had gotten labs done on cycle. I had seen a family doctor, and it was just like whoever my insurance sent me to kind of thing. And he was telling me, oh my God, your liver is, in terrible, you're definitely, you're heading towards liver failure. Your kidneys are damaged and your heart is damaged too, based off of your red blood numbers. And he just had me feeling like, cause man, I'm only a few years into training at that point. We didn't used to do labs like we do now. And I was just like, oh my God, I regret everything I've done. I can't do bodybuilding anymore. And then the nurse came in and said, oh, he's just trying to scare you. She started explaining that thankfully she knew a little bit better. So.
That's a shame. Do you know what? You get instances like this all the time in UK as well.
Yeah.
A client of mine actually went to hospital, and he had the same situation. They did his blood work, and they saw the levels come back like crazy high because he trained that morning. Oh. And it was like, yeah, your heart's not in a good spot. I'm like, no, that's just muscle damage. Like any muscle that's damaged is going to show up higher on this. It's not necessarily his heart, But when he said that to him, Jesus Christ, he just went off.
Yeah. So, hey, I'm seeing your estrogen is a little bit higher than range. So your range goes 41 to 159. You're sitting at 222. How do you feel about letting that estrogen run higher?
See, I generally go off how I feel, not necessarily the kind of reading I get from a test, because for me, with the testosterone dose I'm using, which is 750 milligrams, for that dose of testosterone, that estrogen region is about right. So for me, if you are using slightly higher test, you should probably see a slight elevation of estrogen. However, if I'm not experiencing any bloating, my sex drive's all good, I'm not getting any mood swings. I'm not carrying any excess water retention. My blood pressure's fine. I don't really see the need to bring that down.
Yeah.
And realistically, it's just slightly above the range. It's not really anything that's excessive, right?
Yeah. So with that 750 test, are you using any kind of AI or any kind of DHT, anything to try to modulate the estrogen, or you're just letting that ride?
No, I won't be able to use 750 test with no primo and mast. So there's a sprinkle. If I was to be using 750 test, hypothetically, if I was using hypothetically 750 test, I would be using primo and mast alongside of that as well.
Okay, hypothetically, of course.
Hypothetically in similar doses.
Okay.
So you've got an idea. You've got an idea there.
So low FSH, which we would probably expect, right? And SHBG is low. Free test is through the roof. What do we got so you've got low T4. What do you think about that? What's the deal there?
See, that's a funny one because I'm actually taking T4 at 150 milligrams. But with where the T4 is, I'm not that concerned, to be honest, because my T3 is actually relatively in range. So if my T4 was low and my T3 was low, then I would potentially take action from there. Now, I do think if I was taking a higher dose of growth hormone, potentially that may affect that reading as well, because growth, I do think, does affect the T4 slightly. So generally you will have a slightly lower reading using growth. So I wouldn't say as a rule of thumb you should be using T4 whilst taking growth hormone, but if someone's taking growth hormone over an extended period of time, I think mostly it will be needed, to be honest.
Yeah, I've seen it even with like doses that are, modest, 3-4 units, but over the long haul, maybe the guy's been on it for 18 months, say.
Yeah.
And I see D3 looks like it's in a pretty good spot still in the normal range. Do you supplement with vitamin D?
Yes, I do. So I actually take in 12,000 IUs daily.
Nice.
And I do occasionally use a sunbed as well.
Okay.
So if you do live in UK, just vitamin D3 alone, in my opinion, is not enough. I think to improve the absorption of the D3, I think using a sunbed actually helps.
Yeah, you can really get your numbers up there. Dr. Eric Serrano here in the U.S., he talked about D3 in depth at Swiss last year and the year before, and he had a guy the guy was using he was using a red light in near infrared light religiously, and he was pushing his D levels up. You got yours over there too, huh? Nice.
Of course.
I've got mine over in the corner over here. What kind of light is it?
I've got the Cozy light. Is it Cozy the brand?
I'm not familiar with them.
So it's Cozy red light. They've got like a full unit that they've sent me.
Yeah.
Really, really good actually. I use it every day.
Nice. How long do you use it for?
20 to 40 minutes.
Excellent. So do you just like set it up while you're at your desk and stuff?
So the routine, I get out of my bed, which is like just there, just across from the office is my bedroom.
Yeah.
Straight out, get some water down, and I sit at my desk, put this on, and I try to get at least an hour's worth of work done straight away. And I always put that on, so I will pretty much do my check-ins sat here in my chair naked with the Cozy light on. So.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, when I use the red light in the morning first thing, I feel like it wakes me up faster.
It wakes me up. I feel like I can focus better.
Yep.
I don't need any coffee. I don't have any caffeine first thing in the morning, even in prep.
Really?
Yeah, seriously. My cognitive function is just so much better straight away.
Yeah.
And then what I always find is it almost tapers off and slows down as it gets later in the day.
As it should, right?
As it should. And this is the argument, right? I've had a lot of people. It's like, I have a lot of guys that always tell me, like, I get so much more productive in the night, in the evening. I'm like, No, you don't. You're just lazy and you just won't get your schedule sorted so you can actually be productive in the morning. Like, our biology does not lend itself to you being productive at night. That's just, it's not how the body functions. Right? So I always try and get as much done as I can the first thing in the morning. And then evening time, I get to do the fun stuff like speak to yourself or just chill out on the sofa with Meg.
Right on, man. Right on. So D3 is definitely in a good spot. And then it looked like your vitamin B12 is off the charts there. Are you supplementing with that?
No, I'm not actually.
Interesting. I wonder why it's so high then.
I think food. I think potentially the food. Yeah, potentially, yeah. Huh. Yeah, but again, I'm definitely not concerned with it. As long as it's not a level where it potentially could be toxic, I'm definitely not concerned. Another thing that even you've mentioned on podcasts before that I think is worth noting for listeners, if you are using anabolics, you should be supplementing with vitamin D3 and K2, in my opinion, because anabolics, I do believe, deplete the levels of D3 and K2.
Yeah, even just standard testosterone, guys on TRT or males in general are more likely to deplete it. Man, I did a contest prep long, like it was my first contest prep as a stay-at-home coach. So I didn't have to schedule weeks off. I ended up dieting from February through November. And after that, I did several shows throughout. And after that, I noticed I was feeling fatigued and I couldn't figure out why. And I thought, oh man, did I do something to mess up my thyroid or something? I get my thyroid levels checked. Everything's good. And then I find out my D is low. So I started supplementing with vitamin D and boom, it like same day, my energy came back. I was like falling asleep doing podcasts. Like I was just like nodding off for a second. I was so fatigued, but yeah, it was my vitamin D levels were the problem.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I do believe it makes a big difference. And I even get vitamin D3. So obviously I get my monthly order from Jordan, right?
Yeah.
With the supplements. So I always order extra vitamin D3 and K2 because I actually get it from mum and dad as well.
Nice.
And since they've been using it, the difference in the energy and more so consistency in the energy is huge. And I really think it does make a difference, especially living in the UK where, you know, it's just dark all the time at this time of year. You don't get no sunlight.
Dude.
From now until Feb, March, we just don't get no sun. So
yeah. Detroit's not as bad, but we're pretty rough up here. It gets pretty bad. We get a lot of dark days, especially like you said this time of year. I can't depend on just natural. Plus, I don't just want to have natural D levels. I'm at like a super physiological level. I have to keep my calcium checked because if you are taking more D, that can help you to better store calcium. You can get like calcium stones, things like that. But if you use K2, you can help to balance that out. I think for every 5,000 units, I think it's 200 K2. I believe that is. And following Dr. Eric Serrano's suggestions, I'm at 40,000 units per day right now on vitamin D.
40,000.
40,000.
Something really interesting, right? I went to Spain. I think we did a podcast actually when I was in Spain.
We did.
Remember?
Yep.
I got a little bit sick when I was in Spain.
Okay.
I paid for a doctor to come out and assess me. And he just said, look, your immune system's a little bit low. Guess what he prescribed me?
D?
An extremely high dose of vitamin D3. I actually have it downstairs still because I brought it back home.
Yeah.
But it comes in I'm pretty sure it's 30,000 IU.
Okay.
Capsule.
Okay. Yeah.
So he actually prescribed this from a pharmacy, a very high dose of vitamin D.
Yeah.
To obviously combat me feeling the way I did.
That's awesome, you know, man.
It worked.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It worked.
Yeah. After and I've learned this from Victoria and Eric Serrano, but I mean, like with the flu that had been going around that everybody was talking about, one of the things that they came up with is we're talking like mega dosing. Like you'll do like a bolus dose for the first 4 days, 100,000 units of D for like 4 days straight. And it's because vitamin D is a huge immune system builder. Plus, for the other aspects we're talking about, it's necessary for energy production. So I can't speak highly enough of how beneficial D has been for me.
Yeah, honestly, I think people should be paying for the Patreon for watching this, because we're dropping some gems today. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Listen, I appreciate that plug, and thank you guys, everybody who is following along on Patreon. I appreciate you guys. Anything else we want to mention? Anything else we want to talk about on the labs?
I think just more so to show transparency. I want to show that with you, because I don't think many guys are actually willing to post up the blood work and honestly show what it looks like.
Yeah.
What I would say probably at peak stress, right?
Yeah, and everything looks solid, man. If this is peak stress, I feel like you're doing all right now.
Yeah, pretty sweet, man, pretty sweet. But again, lifestyle, health subs in pretty high doses, and again, good quality health subs as well, luckily. It all plays a massive role, but a lot of people ask me, like, what should I do? Like, what should I take to get my blood work fixed? And I never think it's just a straightforward answer where you like, take this and it's going to fix you. I think it's more so a combination of all factors. Yes, health subs are going to make a tremendous difference. They really will. And I think if you can afford a bottle of test, you should be able to afford to spend enough to cover yourself with health subs, right? But on top of that, I think managing your nutrition, managing your stress, managing your sleep, and managing your lifestyle plays a huge role. Like, personally for me, improving my lifestyle, living a little bit more sensibly, eating better, focusing on the small little things has definitely paid off tremendously with not just my health, but with progress as well.
And just quality of life too, it sounds like,
Yeah, big time, big time. My cognitive function, I'm more creative. I'm a lot more switched on. My energy's higher all the time. I don't have to rely on caffeine to do any tasks. Like, my caffeine intake's still pretty silly low. I only have maybe three shots of espresso before training, just because I do like taste of coffee as well.
Yeah.
But on rest days, I have no coffee. I don't have any coffee in the morning. And that's even in prep. I don't increase my caffeine intake.
Yeah. You guys have good coffee over there too, man. I'd probably be drinking a lot more if I lived in the UK.
Yeah, we've got a great coffee machine. My dad-in-law actually bought it for us. It's amazing. You put the beans on top, just press a button, and it gives you... It's great. If you're ever in UK, I'm making your coffee. You'll love it. I
like the sounds of that, man. So you had another great topic for us, and that was basically trying to be creative with food, Now, and this is something, man, I'll tell you, when I write a diet plan, I give people several options for each thing. I don't tell them just like eat, 8 ounces of chicken. We'll use chicken breast. Or we'll use like 4 different options. And what I try to tell them is like, rotate between these things and rotate between these veggies, rotate between these carbs. The reality is, man, when we're prepping our food in bulk, we tend to get lazier because, it's a lot of work to try to do something different for every meal. So I understand that. And I'm not saying that that's exactly what you need to do, but I do think that you need to add some level of creativity for a lot of reasons. So I think this is a great topic, and I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah, so you're not just looking at getting your macronutrients in, right? You're not just looking at hitting your protein targets, carbohydrate targets, and fat targets, right? You need to be looking at hitting your actual micronutrient targets. So what I personally use for tracking, I've got my sheets that I track my nutrition on, my calories, my actual macros, right? But I am a massive fan of using Chronometer. So Chronometer, when you type your food in, it actually gives you the values for your fiber intake and all your micronutrient needs as well. So it breaks everything down. Yeah, it breaks everything down in detail.
Huh.
So when I structure a diet, right, and I'd like to give some guidelines that I like to follow as a broad spectrum, where I think this is a minimum of what people should be following within the day-to-day. And I think a minimum of variety of 500 grams of fruits coming from variety of sources. So it could be mixed berries, blueberries, strawberries. I don't tend to use bananas that much because you do get a lot of carbs for the value. So bananas I do use as, on top. But generally, you want to be aiming to get 500 grams of fruit coming from blueberries, any berries, any dark berries, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got strawberries, raspberries, and again, potentially any other fruit that people like. But the easiest thing to do is buy frozen fruit and buy mixed berries.
Yeah.
Not only they're tasty, but it's super easy to add to your food, right? And then you can buy frozen strawberries, frozen raspberries, frozen cherries. You can buy all sorts of frozen fruit that taste tremendous. So as a guideline, right, once you've set someone's protein targets, carb targets, and fat targets, you do need to pay attention to veg and fruit intake. But one thing to realize as well is, Scott, how much nicer is your meal when you've got an assortment of fruit and veg with it?
Yeah.
Not only it looks better because it's got all these different colours going off, but it tastes so much better as well. And I think where a lot of people get it wrong is they look at a diet, right? And let's say you send someone a diet over and you've got, chicken, 200 grams of chicken, 75 grams of rice, 100 grams of veg. There could be so many different variations of how people cook that and prepare that.
Right.
With variety of different veg, variety of different spices, you could make it pretty damn tasty.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I do understand that a lot of people press for time, but it could literally be as easy as going out to a butcher. You do have a lot of butchers in America still, don't you?
We kind of do. It depends where you're at.
Oh, no, not as much.
Yeah, not as much anymore. A lot of places are just going to like the prefabbed, but we do still have butchers. They're fewer and further between, unfortunately.
Right. If you're in UK, you've got access to a lot of butchers, but if in America, then you may be struggling. But anyway, you can still get a lot of your bulk cooked foods prepared easily. If you can just buy 2-3 different protein sources, so you could have eggs, beef, chicken, whey,
yeah,
and then potentially Greek yogurt. That's five different protein sources, right? That could give you 5 different meals across your day.
Yeah, I like that.
Easily, right? And it's not going to give you any extra time to prepare this. Now, for your carbohydrate sources, let's make it super simple and easy for people, right? Sourdough bread.
Okay.
Rice, bagels, rice cakes, cream of rice.
Okay.
Now, all 5 different sources that are not going to be a pain in the arse to prepare.
Yeah.
Super easy to prepare, but can be also tasty and used in a variety of different ways. Now, when it comes to putting your food together, the worst thing you can do is just plonk a massive bowl of rice on top of your plate and just some plain mince on top of it.
Yeah.
Like, you can buy some passata, which is just like literally tomatoes blended up. Per 100 grams, it's like 14 calories.
Nice.
It's nothing. Add 100 grams of passata to your mince. Bulk cook it all. You could get a kilo of mince, put it in a pan, put 200 grams of passata in it, put some herbs and spices on it, cook it up, right? Put your rice in the rice cooker. That could make you 5 different meals, 5 beef meals done. Takes, 5 minutes to prepare, right?
Right. Yeah, I like that. That sounds good too.
Get an air fryer.
Right.
Chop your chicken up, season it, put some lemon on it, put a kilo of chicken in the air fryer. That's, again, 5 portions of chicken done there. And then you could even put your chicken in a bagel or with sourdough. You could put some salad in it, make a sandwich from it, take it to work. Super easy, super tasty, and you're not eating dog food all day. So when it comes to your food variations and food variety, it's quite literally limitless. And you could make so much different meals palatable with literally just using 5 of the sources that were mentioned with carbohydrates, 5 different meats, 5 different protein sources with a couple of different meats, whey, eggs, and yogurt. You've got so much variety there with no excessive time of getting it ready.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the sounds of that.
Yeah, another thing that I've noticed as well, a lot of people is like they use no seasoning. And in America, you've got access to some amazing seasonings that I actually use, which is Dash.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of Dash?
Yeah.
Scott, it's incredible.
You guys don't have that over there, huh?
No, I have to buy it from Amazon, and it's so expensive.
No kidding. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's worth it though.
You know
Scott,
what? You
need to get Italian medley.
Italian medley, huh? Oh, I've used that before. That's a good one.
You put it on top of your eggs, on top of your beef, or on top of your rice. It's incredible.
I never thought about putting it on my eggs. You know, I've never thought of that in my life. I'll have to work up to that one. I see that as being on the meats. I can do that on the meats, but I never thought about that one.
Mate, I'm telling you, just put it in your eggs tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
you'll love it.
You know what we've been doing is we've got a slow cooker, and we'll go to Costco and we'll buy a ton of ground turkey each trip, like a month's worth at a time. And a month's or 2-3 weeks worth of chicken breast. And we'll take a couple pounds of chicken and we'll throw it in the slow cooker overnight or, in the morning. And several hours later, you've got this huge vat of basically like pulled chicken. It just falls apart. Oh. And you could take like some sugar-free barbecue sauce on that or whatever else you want. We'll get like there's a seasoning place downtown and they have a shawarma seasoning, just like dry powdered seasoning. Mix that in there, man. The whole house smells good. The food tastes delicious. And it's like totally transformed the chicken, because the number one issue I hear from people is I give them the options, and then 8 weeks later they say to me, man, listen, I got to talk to you. I'm really tired of chicken. Is there anything else I can eat besides chicken? And I say, first of all, there's 4 other meats. Like on that same line, it doesn't just say chicken. There's a bunch of stuff you could do. And like here in the US, we call it ground or, minced. We get like the lean minced ground turkey. That stuff is awesome. You could do 100 things with that. You could make like taco seasoning with that stuff, man. And it tastes delicious. But you take this chicken, put it in the slow cooker, and totally transform it into something else. And here's the secret, man. This is what I learned, because I was eating the same old chicken day in, day out for a contest prep one year. And then I went to a restaurant and I just ordered, can you guys just grill me a couple chicken breasts? And that's what they did. And let me tell you something, man. It was amazing. I was sick of chicken, and then I ate chicken that somebody else made, and I was like, dude, this is the best, And then I realized, like, oh, okay, it's just how I'm preparing it,
Absolutely. Now, if you want to bodybuild, right, and you want to keep somewhat of a healthy relationship with foods, which, I'll be honest, I don't think anyone who's bodybuilding seriously ever has a completely healthy relationship with food. So let me just put that out there first.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of these coaches are like, no, when you're bodybuilding, you shouldn't have a bad relationship with food. It's like, you tell me one bodybuilder that's doing this and that doesn't have a slightly skewed relationship with food.
Yeah.
Tell me one.
It's a little off when you're eating that much and then cutting it all out, for 5 months,
Yeah, absolutely. It's impossible to avoid, but putting more effort into your cooking and being a little bit more creative with food can make the whole process so much easier for you, because I see a lot of bodybuilders who struggle with binging and struggle with actually sticking to plan.
Oh yeah.
And then I look at the diet and they're just eating fish and rice 5 times a day. I'm like, if I was eating fish and rice 5 times a day, I would I would probably take up golf instead, because it's just, I like food, right? But it's not something I'd enjoy. But realistically, a lot of bodybuilders still, I think, demonize certain foods and certain food sources. And one thing you have to remember is that it's not the food that is the devil. It's not the food that's the issue. It's more so quantity of the food that is the problem.
Yeah.
You can quite literally get fat from eating chicken and broccoli if you eat enough of it.
It'd take a lot, but I get your point. Yeah.
it would take a lot, but it's doable, right?
Yeah.
So my point is, you can incorporate the foods that you genuinely enjoy into your daily diet, and even eat that throughout your entire prep. Now, if you're eating something every single day that you look forward to and you enjoy to a degree, it's not making you overeat. It's going to make the whole process so much more enjoyable, but also, what's the most important thing in entire business of bodybuilding and the lifestyle? Sustainability.
Yes.
Right? I can guarantee that. Every single person that you work with, your absolute goal is to create sustainable habits that they can take away even for themselves after long gone of working with you, right?
For sure.
So if you can create a sustainable diet for yourself as a bodybuilder with a lot of variety, and understand that you have options. You do not just need to eat chicken and rice. You can eat various different meats, various different carb sources, as long as it digests well, and you can cook it in various different ways. If you can really implement that into your day-to-day, your dieting will be so much easier, but your off-season will also be so much easier.
Yeah.
Because you enjoy your food. It's easier to get down. At the moment, Scott, my calories are at 5,000 on training day.
Okay.
4,120 on rest day.
Okay.
And, mate, every single meal, once I've eaten, I'm still hungry after it.
That's great, man. It's great that you can keep that hunger up, through the off season and add a heavier body weight.
And more importantly, digestion is absolutely superb.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm never bloated. I'm not really distended at any point of the day. Don't get me wrong. I look fuller around the midsection than I normally do, but I'm eating 5,000 calories a day.
Right.
It's got to go somewhere, right? And I'm not exactly stage lean anymore. But the whole point is, if I was just to eat boring food and the same food sources every day, I would not only get sick of it, but one thing to remember, when you eat the same food source over and over again, you can also develop an intolerance to it over time.
Oh, for sure. I've done that before, man.
There you go. Now, fun fact. Back in Roman days, they used to torture people, and I'm pretty sure you can kill them by just feeding them turkey and nothing else.
Huh, really?
Straight up. That's a fact. That's basic. That's definitely a fact.
But you'd be totally peeled. I bet they were totally ripped before they kicked, though. And then that was it.
Yeah.
The next day they're gone.
Yeah, 100%.
Months are level.
100%.
Months are level.
Oh, 100%. But you can always get that. And do you know what? I even sometimes get it in the off season where I'll eat a certain amount of food, and if I eat too much of it, I definitely get a little bit intolerant to it. This is why, for me, I like cooking, so I do have a lot of variety. Across my day, I do have multiple sources of carbs, multiple sources of protein. I understand it's not realistic for everyone, but you could still have 4, potentially 5 different sources of protein and carbs across your day, and it's still not going to be a nightmare to prepare.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And it takes that additional work. But like you said, that the biggest point, man, is the longevity thing about being sustainable with this. I have to ask you one more question on this topic. Had there ever been a time that you burnt yourself out of food, of a particular food source, where you just couldn't eat it again?
Oh, mate. You've always got the questions right.
Well, because we've all done it. Like, we're telling you guys what to do, but it's because we've learned the lesson. You know what I mean? And we had to learn somehow.
My first contest prep when I was 16.
Yeah.
All I ate was turkey and sweet potato 6 times per day with half a grapefruit added pre-workout as well.
What a combo, man. So the half a grapefruit was pre-workout for the extra carbs, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
You get that the grapefruit sugar and before you train.
Pineapple rings as well. Luckily, I've not gone off turkey and pineapple, but to this day now, 13 years later, I still cannot eat sweet potato.
Oh, no kidding.
I can't stand the sight of it. I can't stand the smell of it. I can't stand the sight of it. But I never even liked sweet potato, but the old school bodybuilder was like, and again, my first prep, I actually didn't have anyone help me. I literally, one of the geezers at the gym said, "This is what you've got to eat, do it."
Yeah.
And like over time, I just literally ate less. And then I remember doing my cardio post workout. I don't know why, but back then I was still at college. I was doing my cardio post workout, and I remember every week I would add an extra 5 minutes to my treadmill post workout.
Every week,
so starting every week. So I started on like 15 minutes, and I eventually got up to like 60 minutes on like a steep incline.
Yeah.
And I actually got in pretty good shape at 16. I'm not gonna lie, but to this day now, I can't stand the sight of sweet potato, man.
That's crazy, man. I have a couple I burnt myself out on ground turkey because it's the only meat source I used for one prep. And it's like the 99% lean, super dry ground turkey. It was only up until recently that I could start eating it again, like in the last year or two. And the other one was avocado. I was mid-diet, and I discovered avocado as a fat source. And I was like, oh, my God, this is the best thing in the world. And I was having avocado with my meat every freaking time I got to eat fat, which at that diet, I was eating fats just about every meal. And yeah, man, I got to a point toward the end of the prep. I couldn't look at avocado, and it took me a good year. I've known so many people that have done that with tuna fish. Tuna fish, they can't look at a can of tuna again because they just ate that for like 3 years straight, you know?
See, I never ate tuna, but I actually drank tuna shakes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you make a tuna shake?
So at start, when I was 15, when I was at school, it was tuna and Diet Coke.
I've never tried that one, but I heard it doesn't taste bad.
You can ask all the people who went to school with me. I used to come into school with boiled potatoes, literally just boiled potatoes in a container, and literally a 2 litre of Diet Coke with lines that was added by my mum. She used to blend my tuna before school, pour it in, and she would add lines into the bottle to show me where 2 tins of tuna was.
Oh, you're kidding me. So you just had a big old jug of it.
Yeah, so I knew how much to drink per meal, obviously. But to this day now, I don't eat tuna unless it's sushi.
Ooh, I can't blame you,
unless it's proper tuna from a sushi place.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, honestly, I can tell you so much stories. It's been a crazy ride. But now I don't really get sick of any food because every single one of my meals is slightly different. Apart from on rest day, I have 2 of the same meals. But apart from that, literally every meal is different. So I'll give you an example of training day. Meal 1 is eggs, venison, rice, blueberries. Meal 2, we've got turkey, potato, rice, pineapple. Pre-workout meal is whey, cream of rice, banana, raisins or dates, pineapple, and rice. I actually like to put my rice in cream of rice. Just gives it better texture. And then post-workout, I have prawns and cream of rice. Then meal 5 that I've just had that I showed you, right? Did you like that?
That was good.
Yeah, so
plenty of color in there.
That was salmon, turkey, rice, pineapple. Each meal, I do have 100 grams of veg in it as well. And again, variety of veg. I have spinach, mushrooms, peppers. That's my go-to generally, and asparagus. So again, 4 different sources of veg that are very easy to prepare, right? And then pre-bed, I have whey, yogurt, cream of rice, or oats. Generally, I like to do a mixture of both or one or the other. As food gets higher, I pull the oats out, and then generally I just do cream of rice because you just digest much easier.
Yeah.
And then I have fruit with that meal as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's a well-rounded diet, man.
Yeah, and ticks all the boxes. 42 grams of fiber total.
Okay.
Which a lot of it comes from the fruit as well. So it's a diet that's not only easy to eat, digestible, but also when I put it in my chronometer, it ticks all the boxes when it comes to micronutrients. So that's huge.
I like that. Well, listen, I think I don't know whether people can still see you moving. On my end, I can't see you moving anymore. So I think this is probably a good time that we call this good. We call it a day here. I think that we gave everybody some good stuff here, man.
Yeah, I would probably say so, mate. I can't see you moving myself, but you can hear me, right? So
yeah. The audio is still awesome, and it's all good info, so I think people will appreciate it regardless, man.
Yeah, happy days. Well, listen, I think we've just blasted a good one out here.
I think so too, man. And hey, if anybody wants to ask any questions for the next time, you guys just comment with questions and load us up. We'd be happy to answer those questions. And any questions about this stuff too. I'd be curious to hear, if anybody had any further questions about everything we're talking about here, from the training to the labs to the nutrition stuff. I think this was like a well-rounded episode. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's been a good one, to be honest. I think we actually didn't plan to go over the training stuff first, but
it was good.
I probably got a bit excited with it. But anyway.
You did. I could tell you were getting pumped up with that. So I was like, let's just go with it, you know?
Yeah, I did enjoy that. But anyway, anyone who's listening, me and Scott can do an in-depth Q&A if you want us to do one. But you'll have to leave plenty of comments in the actual episode for us to do that. So go ahead and get it done.
Perfect. And of course, I've got down in the description, you guys can go over, follow Kuba on Instagram, follow Kuba on YouTube. There's a lot of people who say, oh, I've got a YouTube channel, but you're constantly still putting stuff out there. Like you have an active YouTube channel where you guys are putting out a lot of content, don't you?
Yeah, I generally put 2 videos a week.
That's great. Yeah. So make sure you guys are following Kuba over there. And anything else we should mention?
Well, big up Trained by JP, always. Jordan's been looking after me for many, many years. So, again, he's a very good friend, very good mentor. Massive shout out to Eval.
Yes.
They have been amazing. Massive support for me. Massive shout out to Ultraflex, the best gyms in UK.
Yes.
Especially Ultraflex Rotherham. And good shout out to Hardbody, all the accessories, the sponsor for accessories as well. So that's all she wrote, Scott. And I think big shout out to the producer, Scott McNally.
Hey.
Think Big Bodybuilding Media.
Well, I appreciate you being here, man. I'm just sitting at my desk and I get to talk to Kuba from on the other side of the ocean and we get to, talk bodybuilding. So, man, this is an absolute pleasure for me. I appreciate you, brother.
Mate, anytime. Appreciate you. And I love doing these. I really do. So thank you.
All right, guys, check out the Patreon, of course. We could always use the support over there. Plus, I put the shows out a little bit early on Patreon when I can. And, thank you guys for your support there. Thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, all that stuff. We got a lot more content, so be sure to come back. We'll see you soon, guys. Thanks, Kuba.
I appreciate it, brother. Take care, man.
You too, brother.